Hi there, and welcome to Oakland Side 510. I'm Tasneem Raja, editor-in-chief of the Oakland Side, Oakland's independent nonprofit newsroom. We are approaching that time again, elections. I know it seems like we just voted. That's because we did in the primary in June. But November is going to be the general election, when we make final choices, including for key local offices and issues. We're talking a mayor's race, 3 city council seats, 3 competitive school board seats, and 3 Oakland or regional ballot measures. To help you make sense of it all, and to tell you how we're planning to cover it all between now and November 3rd, I'm joined by 2 of our editors. Darwin BondGraham, our news editor, who edits our City Hall, housing, and public safety reporters, and Esther Kaplan, our deputy editor, who edits our education, transportation, and arts coverage. Darwin, Esther, thank you for being here.
Hey, Tasneem.
Great to be here.
Let's start at the top. Darwin, who's running for mayor?
So Mayor Barbara Lee is running for a full 4-year term. She won a special election last year to fill out the 2 years left in Mayor Sheng Tao's term. That was after Tao was recalled. Now Lee is asking voters to keep her in the mayor's seat for 4 more years. She's got 3 challengers who qualified to be on the ballot. Brenda Grisham is a East Oakland business owner and public safety advocate who many people might know led the successful recall campaign against former Alameda County District Attorney Pamela Price.
Right.
Then there's Mindy Pechenuk, an educator and activist who has run in the past but unsuccessfully for office in Oakland before. And Julius Robinson, who describes himself as a community investment executive.
Not a crowded field. How does this compare to previous years we've covered?
That's right. It's a smaller number of candidates than in other recent elections. Again, people will recall that in 2025, the special election, 10 people ran for mayor, right? And 10 also ran for mayor in 2022. Our newsroom's reporting on the candidate list at this point shows that, maybe Barbara Lee running as the incumbent for a full term is one possible reason that there's only 4 people on the ballot this year.
Yeah. We'll get into Barbara Lee's time as mayor so far and her reelection campaign in more depth on this podcast soon. For now, Darwin, keeping it moving, what about city council races?
So 3 council seats are up, districts 2, 4, and 6. In District 2, the incumbent is Charlene Wong, who was elected in 2025, also in that special election. She's facing a challenge from Democratic Socialist community organizer Nate Adams. The District 6 seat is currently occupied by Council President Kevin Jenkins. He's being challenged by Nancy Sidebotham, a longtime Oakland resident, tax specialist, and neighborhood advocate. Sidebotham has also run for city council before in the past. And then there's District 4, where the incumbent Janati Ramachandran is running unopposed. So that is settled. And like the mayor's race, this year is different in that slightly fewer people are running for council, but it's also kind of like past years in some other ways. Again, for example, in 2022, Kevin Jenkins faced 3 opponents in the D6 race, and one of them was Nancy Sidebotham. So we kind of get a rematch this year.
Yeah.
And there's one other election this year. It's for city auditor. Yes, Oakland actually has an elected city auditor. And this person's job is to audit the entire city, all of its departments, look at how spending and money and processes go, and make suggestions for improvements. The current incumbent, Michael Houston, no relation to City Council member Ken Houston that I know of, is running unopposed. So not a lot of candidate news there, but we're still going to cover that election.
All right, let's talk ballot measures because there is a lot here. Darwin, walk us through what is going to be on the ballot beyond the candidates.
Yeah, there are 2 Oakland-specific ballot measures that our reporters have already been tracking pretty closely. And there's also a regional transit measure. For Oakland, the first measure is the Strong Mayor Charter Reform. This is really the big one. Right now, Oakland has this hybrid form of government that's neither strong mayor system like what San Francisco has, nor a council manager system like most other cities in California. The way power is divided right now can sometimes lead to confusion about who's really in charge.
Right.
Barbara Lee cast a rare tie-breaking vote back in June to put this measure on the ballot. It would restructure the government and make it more like a strong mayor form. It would give the mayor veto power over legislation and the budget and more control over day-to-day administration.
That was a very interesting vote. It was genuinely very close.
Right. The council was tied 4-4. And Lee doesn't often step in to break ties like that because she said it can create an appearance of division between her office and the council.
Right.
But in that case, she said that the current system makes it, quote, impossible for residents to know who's responsible when things go wrong. So she voted yes.
Listeners, we will certainly unpack this measure more for you in the next few weeks before you vote. Darwin, what else is on the ballot?
There's a foreclosure tax measure. Currently, if you sell property in Oakland, you pay a tax when the property changes hands. But that tax doesn't currently apply to foreclosed properties. This measure would end that carve-out. Councilmember Charlene Wong authored it, and the council passed it onto the ballot almost unanimously. The city estimates that it could bring in about $4 to $13 million a year, depending on market conditions. One important thing to note, it wouldn't apply to smaller banks and homeowners who are themselves being foreclosed on.
And for a while, it looked like Oakland voters were going to get to vote on a minimum wage ballot measure, but now that's not happening.
Right. A coalition called Living Wage for All submitted signatures to put a $30 an hour minimum wage on the ballot for unincorporated parts of the county. It wouldn't affect Oakland's minimum wage since Oakland sets its own. The reason it won't be on the ballot, after all, is because some of the county supervisors, David Halbert, Nate Miley, and Lena Tam, were skeptical and had a lot of questions. So they invoked this clause in the elections code that allows them to briefly hit pause and ask for a study. That delay means that it won't be on the November ballot, but it will be on a future election ballot.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Darwin. You just ran through a lot. Really appreciate it. Esther, let's turn to you first on the last of the ballot measures that we're going to see on our ballots in a few weeks here. It's one that you have been following very closely because you edit our transit coverage.
Right. This one's called Connect Bay Area. It's a regional sales tax measure that would cover Alameda, Contra Costa, San Francisco, San Mateo, Santa Clara counties. And it is a massive multi-billion-dollar bailout to BART, AC Transit, and Muni, all of which are facing deep service cuts or even station closures without new funding. It made it onto the ballot this summer after organizers turned in well over the minimum number of signatures. And it would add a 0.5-cent sales tax here in Oakland.
Is this one expected to pass, do you think?
It is genuinely an open question. Most other Bay Area tax measures failed at the ballot in June, including Oakland's Measure E, which was heavily backed by Mayor Lee, which has some observers wondering if voters are just tired of being asked to pay more without seeing measurable results. But as Jose Formoso, our transit reporter, has reported, the only transit-specific tax on the June ballot, one in Marin County, was an exception to that pattern. It passed easily with 70% of the vote. And the regional tax measure hasn't drawn that kind of organized, funded opposition that sank, for example, Measure E here or the CEO tax in San Francisco.
Got it. Okay, shifting gears. What is happening with the school board in Oakland?
So this might actually be the most competitive set of local races this year. 3 OUSD board seats are up, the same districts as the council, 2, 4, and 6, and none of them are uncontested. Also of note, in every single race, there's a current OUSD parent running for the first time, and districts 4 and 6 each have 3 candidates facing off.
Talk to us about why that matters.
Well, in recent years, as our education reporter Ashley McBride has written, the board has only had a single parent with kids currently in Oakland schools. And that affects the conversations that take place. Right now, for example, there's only one board member who's an active OUSD parent, Rachel Latta, who represents District 1. She's not one of the board members up for re-election this year. The other board members either don't have kids in the district anymore, or they have kids who haven't started school yet, or they're not parents.
Right. So what do you think is different this year?
Well, a few things have converged. OUSD is heading into this fall facing intense financial pressure. The district is confronting a budget gap yet again. It's restarting its search for a permanent superintendent, trying to avoid going back into state receivership, which it only exited last year, and facing these ongoing questions about whether there will be school closures. And at the same time, there's been a real uptick in parent organizing, new parent engagement groups, a newsletter dissecting board meetings, and this year, for the first time, an independent expenditure committee formed specifically to support a couple parent candidates.
Got it. Walk us through the actual races. Who's running?
Okay. In District 2, in central Oakland, incumbent board president Jennifer Brohard, an ally of Superintendent Denise Sadler's, a retired special ed teacher whose kids are OUSD graduates. She's being challenged by Ariel Fleischer, a Crocker Highlands parent and tech worker who has been running on fixing the district's budget. In District 4, in the Oakland Hills, extending down into Diamond and Laurel, incumbent Mike Hutchinson, who's a former after-school teacher and known as a firebrand on the board, faces two challengers. Catherine Camp, she is a Glenview Elementary parent, and Sylvia Williams, a longtime adult bilingual teacher and special education aide in the district. And then in District 6, which covers a chunk of East Oakland, we have incumbent Valerie Batchelor, also in the leadership. She's the board's sitting vice president, a former labor organizer. She's being challenged by charter school teacher Alexandra Williams and by a parent named Liana Powell. She is a PTA activist who's maybe best known for filing the ethics complaint that led to the investigation of former Mayor Sheng Tao.
Now, I know from Ashley's reporting that low compensation for school board members is one reason parents have historically not run.
That's right. But board pay went up this year to $3,000 a month from $900 a month. And that's because a new state law raised compensation limits for school boards across California. Still not really a full-time wage, though. The parent activists Ashley's spoken to say other obstacles are actually a bigger deal. Many worry about engaging with a board known for conflict and acrimony, or about entering the public eye and becoming a target themselves. Some also feel like they've witnessed just too many years of leadership failures by the board, and they can't even imagine that one person could make a difference. And that's a reason why this wave of parent candidates actually feels like a note of optimism, like something could change.
Okay, so that is the landscape of candidates. Now, I want to shift gears again and talk about how we as a newsroom are actually planning to cover all of this between now and November 3rd. Darwin, coming back to you, what is the approach on your end?
Right. Our goal isn't just to meet the candidate profiles. For each major race, Eli and Natalie, our City Hall reporters, they're going to work on a feature that finds the real angle in that specific contest. Like what's actually driving it, not just who's running. For the mayor's race, for instance, we're looking at whether Barbara Lee can deliver on a second term, given what she's been attacked on, and how a challenger like Brenda Grisham, who's shown that she can unseat an incumbent, might make her case.
Yeah.
We're also doing district-level stories for each council race that start from what residents themselves say are their top issues, not what we assume they care about. And we've got ballot measure explainers in the works for the measures we just walked through, clear, short pieces on what one would need to actually know about the ballot measure, who's for and against it, and where the money is coming from on each side.
That's great to hear. Esther, how about on the school board side?
Well, Ashley did one story we've talked about on the rise of parent candidates that's already at oaklandside.org, which I highly recommend. And she's working on individual stories on each of those 3 school board races, where we'll really drill down on how each candidate is looking at OUSD's budget crisis and sustainability, whether they're open to school closures to right-size the district, and what their vision is for strengthening student achievement.
Mm-hmm.
We're also looking to do a story on youth voters. People may not know it's one of the places where 16 and 17-year-olds get a voice, a vote in school board elections.
Yeah.
And we are planning an Oakland Side Candidate Forum, tentatively for late September, where we will break each of the district races into separate rooms to allow for high levels of dialogue and engagement. So look for a post soon with information on how to attend. And we also plan to record that for you podcast listeners.
Absolutely. Great. I'm really looking forward to that. Before I let you guys go, any big overarching questions that are hanging over this whole election that you think listeners should be keeping an ear out for?
Yeah, one thing we're just kind of chewing on right now is the question of why aren't these city council races and the mayor's race more competitive this year, right? I mean, District 4 is entirely uncontested, and several other races have relatively thin fields compared to past election cycles. Is that a one-off thing? Is it a shift in Oakland politics? Is it fatigue after recalls and all sorts of other turmoil? We're really going to dig into that and see what's going on there.
I just want to flag one other issue that's on our minds, which is the heavy deployment of AI in election ads and election communications.
Yeah.
We're seeing it in the mayor's race. We're seeing it in other races. And it's something that we're really going to keep our eyes on.
Mm-hmm. Great context, great reporting plans to both of you. Before we wrap, for listeners who just want the practical nuts and bolts details, when does voting actually start?
Yeah, every registered voter receives a ballot in the mail. Trump can't stop that yet with the regulations he's potentially going to impose. You will get your ballots in the mail, and voting starts October 5th. That means drop boxes open the very next day on October 6th. In-person voting centers open the week of October 31st, and Election Day is November 3rd. So that's the last day to vote.
Darwin, Esther, thank you both.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tasneem.
That is this week's episode of Oakland Side 510. Sorry, no headlines today with all of the election coverage to run through. But you can find all the stories we talked about today and all of our other recent reporting at oaklandside.org. Sign up for the daily newsletter to get our reporting delivered to your inbox. If you haven't already, please do leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We love reading those. Had a few more come in over the last few days. Now, this episode was produced by Mark Nieto. On behalf of our entire newsroom, thank you for showing up for Oakland. We'll see you next week.